I can't see my mouse. I can't play in full screen because if I play in full screen, I can't see my mouse. I have to actually play in windowed. If I go in borderless, it puts it on the wrong monitor. That's so weird. I can't see my mouse. I guess I'm playing windowed. I literally cannot see my mouse. F11. If I do F11, I can't see my mouse. Okay, I'll see it when I get in game if it's better. Single player. Cobblemon Farms tutorial. What's this? Should I create a new one or just do this one? Cobbled Farms. Let's try this one. P-bass, an elusive fish that only appears in specific areas. If you can't find any, try another fishing spot. Did my game crash? There's no way. Maybe I should have tried this before. Okay, I was about to say. Dang it, I already started the sponsor. Chill, bro. My sense is stupid high. Difficulty normal. Peaceful. Yeah, we're normal. Where is sensitivity? Controls. Mouse settings. Try like 75. Yeah, still kind of a little bit high. Let's try 6-7. Oh wait, let me switch the scene on TikTok. You guys can see. There you go. We maxing all the FOVs. Oh, can I do FOV? Quake Pro. Whoa, this feels hella far out. 100 is fine. Whoa, okay. So how do you start Cobblemon? Press M, check out the starters. Oh snap, they got all the starters from like Kanto, Joda, Hoenn, Unova, Kalos. Ooh. What starter do we pick? I don't know what starter I want to pick. You can scroll down. Oh, they got the Paldeo ones and he's suit. Oh. Cool. I don't know what I want to use. I want to use Torchic. Let's get a Torchic. What the? Already, bro? Why are you here? Wait, why are there no more skeletons in freaking Cobblemon? Wait, what? This spawn camping me is crazy. Wait, I'm dead. What? Yo, Torchic, get out of here. How you throw Torchic? Fuck. Yo, why are there normal thingies in here? Blaziken in his ass? I don't know the controls. I don't know the controls yet. I haven't played this in ages. It's over here. There's Minecraft music? There is. Oh, I think it's the basic music. I'm about to just mute it. Got poke slop in Minecraft. Wait, I'm actually dead, bro. Okay, hold on. Mute the music. Actually, I'll leave it like 10% so YouTube can hear something. Like 20. Okay, what are the controls, bro? When eating an apple, there's a chance you will leave some leftovers behind. That's funny. The actual item leftovers. Okay. Yeah, I know. Hold on. Fixing it. There, you guys should be able to see now. TikTok, I think. Yeah, you can. Okay, nice. Art of battle. Wait, he's level 4. I mean, 19. Oh, fuck. Run? Nice. I was about to say. Okay, we need a train. Aren't there gyms in Cobblemon, chat? Do I need a shaders mod? My game looks so dull. What's that? My game looks so dull. Definitely need to get a shaders mod next time we do this. That was down here. Our world is full of Pokemon. These little or large creatures can be found just about anywhere. Okay. Some under certain conditions, but one like Sneasel can only be found in snowy biomes. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you're gonna have to explore. You take us after the sponsor? Yeah, probably. Fresh animations and stuff too. You want me to get like an animation pack or something? Master trainers start here. Uh-huh. They really start here? The mini home. So where are you supposed to like actually start in Cobblemon? Hey bud, welcome to our berry fields. Single most important place in the valley. Not to toot my own horn. Let me take it. How do I put it back? Oh, there you go. That was my tour check. Actually follows me around. Oh, there you go. Recode it. You can't use fresh animations to use to original. I can't use fresh animations to use to the original animations. So you're supposed to craft Pokeballs? Was that what I'm supposed to do at the start? I don't know what the recipe to craft Pokeballs are though. I mean, you can't jump over these fences. It's actually throwing me off. What is that? Pokédex Fold Pro. Your journey awaits. Okay. Do I have to like look up the recipe to craft Pokeballs? Is that really how I'm about to do? What are these? Oh crap! I can't get it from here. Yo, these fences are throwing me off. The choke dip. That was in here. Nothing in there. What does it say? The most Pokemon related items can be crafted using copper or apricot to make Pokeballs. Okay, copper and apricorns to make Pokeballs are using popped chorus fruit. Okay. Copper and apricorns. Must be book in your inventory is full of useful discovery. Okay. Oh, is that the Pokeball? Oh, that's a compass. So I need copper and apricorns. Berry. Chesto. Where do you get apricorns at? Is this story based off Cobblemon? I don't think it's story based Cobblemon. At least I don't know. I just wanted to try out the Cobblemon because I never played Cobblemon before. I've played Pixelmon, but I've never played Cobblemon. So I wanted to try it out. What was this? Level 4? Oh yes. Get his ass, Torchic. Flame charge him. Easy eats. There you go. Nice. They definitely have. This definitely feels like an improved version of Pixelmon. He's beating on a newbie Pokemon? Someone got to do it. Okay, how do I make these damn balls, bro? Where do I get the apricorns at? Is there some in this village? What are you? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Level 11. That's free eats. The hell's that? Poison powder? Oh, hell no. You're still alive. Torchic speed rose. Quick attack. Cooked. Nice. Easy. 14. Level 2. Oh, it's a Pidgey. I want a Pidgey. I don't have any Pokeballs though, so I won't be able to catch it. Oops. White dye. All this. Oh, all the stuff over there. Cures yourself as poisoned. Wakes up from sleep. Could be eaten during battle. Cure from frozen. There's a bowl. Fishing bait. You use apples for fishing bait? Okay. What the heck is this? Mild mint? Calm mint. They start level 10? Yeah, they start level 10. I didn't expect it to start level 10. Is this honey? It is honey. That was this. That was a weird starter area, I'll tell you that. Alright, party? Wait, oh, you can like store right here. Choichic stats of chains. What the fuck does that do? Oh, you put the mint on the Pokemon. I forgot. Doesn't that like boost its stats or some shit? Something like that. I forgot. I need apricorns. Apricorns. What do the apricorns even look like in this? I don't even know. What is this? Let's see if you find them. Wait, what? Hey, mate, I'm in a bit of a tight spot right now. Some little creatures swung by and nicked on my disc. If you got no idea where the little pest carried them off to. Wait, I've got no idea where the little pest carried them off to, but we gotta be somewhere around these parts. Listen, if you find them, they're yours. I'm off to go see that new dig site. I might not be coming back, so if you want those discs, have a good home, huh? I just want those discs to have a good home. Oh, I read that wrong. If it helps, there are 16 in total. Okay. It's a music disc. Bunch of apples. Taking all his apples. Fuck his apples. They're mine now. I've seen ages. What's up, dude? At the trees. Okay, let me explore the rest of this town first. Oh, these are balls. Oh, are these all free? Sail dive balls. Throw them underwater. It's a level ball. Shit, this shit mine now. I'll tell you that. Who gonna stop me? Friend ball. EXP candy, 5 of them. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be taking these, but shit, these are mine now. I'll tell you that. Okay, dying with all this would suck. Dying with all this would really suck. I can't lie. Apricorns are randomly spawn out orange colored trees. Apricorns spawn on orange leaf trees. Okay. What's in here? What's the map button? Let's see. Okay. What's in here? I don't like the fact that other skeletons and stuff still spawn in. That's so stupid. Creepers and stuff shouldn't spawn in. It should be just be Pokemon. It's pretty stupid that like I can die to a creeper in a Pokemon verse. Like what? Why are you here? It's just stupid. I can't throw my Pokemon at him. It's just dumb. He shouldn't exist. Gone fishing. And there's spiders and stuff too. Is that why this thing was unpeaceful? Yeah, how do I disable it? I have to disable it? Here, let me check the settings. Who set up the server? I know, I just joined the starter server. Mods. It's like, why are these enabled? This is the starter server. Oh, what is this? What a Cobblemon. Ride a Pokemon for the first time. Oh yeah, you can ride a Pokemon, I forgot. Use achievements. Okay, let me see. Options. What's this? Lock world difficulty. Is that why it was on peaceful or easy? Blade may ain't want to wield a blade against the zombies. What blade do I have? I'm grippable. What blade? I'm grippable. Must wield a blade. Try peaceful. Okay. It just shouldn't be enabled. Open LAN. Port number. Okay. That was us. Now let's continue. I need to trim my damn Pokemon. We got some Pokeballs now, but I need more for sure because I don't have 2. Definitely gonna need more Pokeballs than that. This is Pokemon. I shouldn't have to worry about zombies and shit, bro. I want to play Pokemon. Okay, why am I fighting zombies and skeletons in a Pokemon game? Unless my Pokemon's fighting it. Oh yeah, didn't that DLC for what's that game? DLC for that game come out? Power World? Yeah, I want to play freaking Power World. I'd go play it. Oh, I already read this already. What's a barrel? Great balls and Pokeballs and shit. Cooked chicken. What do cooked chicken do in this game? Shit, mine now. Power got DLC. They put on peaceful, get in the field. Alright, I think we have a lot of stuff. It's level 29, goddamn. Wait, where's that Pidgey? I want that Pidgey. That shit's probably long gone though. Wait, I don't think I can find that Pidgey anymore. That Pidgey's for sure probably gone. Zombies are gone now? Okay, nice. You hear your Pokemon? What's this? If you ever find yourself in a pickle house up one, you can look at it and send it on your wait, what? Send out your own Pokemon to engage it. I thought you need to do that anyway. Mind you, the Pokemon around these parts are pretty docile. Oh, the same concept applies to trainer battles. Okay. You can request your own battle as well. Well, not that you need to do that either. Because you're the only trainer at the farm right now. Right? Am I? Level 8? Yeah, wake up. Wake up, buddy. Peck. You have Peck at level 11? What in the what? Why you have Peck so early? Or I can't move my camera up and down while they're battling. My camera's like locked looking downwards. Oh yeah, I get that. Get that Zigzagoon. Isn't there gyms in this as well? These movesets are crazy. Cause why does this dude have Peck so early? What's this mod pack? This is a Cobblemon. Peck this early is crazy, no? Yeah, that Pidgey's probably gone. I might just find something else. There's no more ass pig. Oh, I guess I won't need steak. Does steak do anything? Pokemon this? I don't think so. Can I like feed it to my Pidgey or my Torchic? Hell no, I can't. Hell no, I can't. What does steak do in this thing then? There's like nothing, I guess. I don't know. What level are you? Can't see his level. Say 7, I think. Come here. Oh, 17. Whoa, never mind. Is it a Pidgey? I mean, not Pidgey. Is it Pichu? We can fight a Pichu. Should we catch a Pichu? Hopefully I don't kill it. Oh my god, you almost killed it. Son, you almost killed it. So watch your opponent. Choose an action. Wait, what? Just bonked its head with it. They just bonked his head with it. Just gonna peck as an egg move. Oh, nice. We got a second Pokemon now. Nice. This Pichu needs to heal though. See this Pichu. Naive nature. Oh, you Pichu. Yeah, that's a well-made mod pack. This is definitely way more well-made than the one I played long ago. Oops. So how do I switch to the second Pokemon? What's the mod pack? This is Cobblemon. Can I switch it from here? Yep, you can. So how do I switch which Pokemon I'm hovering? What was that? Oh, it's a what's her name? Freaking Chikorita. Wait, that's not Pichu. What the? How do I switch which Pokemon I'm hovering to throw out? I don't know how to. Arrow keys? Oh, it is arrow keys. What in the hell? Okay, I would not have guessed that. Cool. Yeah, I would not have guessed arrow keys. That's for sure. Okay. I need to heal my Pokemon. Where's the healing thingy? Oh, it's a Togepi. I want a Togepi. I don't know if I'm gonna catch it though. I'm gonna die. I want a Togepi, but it's level 17. Fuck. There's another one, 16? Okay, this is doable. I can catch this. I think. Yo, if this thing pulls out some... Why does it have ancient power? Why do you have ancient power? Increases the higher the player. Oh my god. We gotta use a great ball. What the fuck? Or do we use a friend ball? Repeat ball. Registered as fuck. Bonk it. Yes. 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 Oh my god, that was too close. Nice, we got 3 Pokemon now. Okay, 3 Pokemon's enough for now. Where the hell is the healing thingy? I forgot. Damn Pokemon Center. God, dude. Because why on earth do you have ancient power? Where is it? I think it's somewhere at the center. Up on Calorant? I mean Valorant? Just go Valorant, Calorant. What the hell is Calorant? No shaders? I don't have any. I gotta find some. I'll put some in next time. I forgot to do shaders. All I did was download Cobblemon, but I forgot shaders. So my game looks kind of dull, I know. Where the fuck is... Yo, how can I not find this thing? It was literally over here. It was over here. It'll be a next time? It'll be a next time, yeah. The game looks so plain. I'm shaderless, bro. What's this? Repair and disenchant. Where you downloaded the mod pack? You just look up Cobblemon. What do you mean? It'll give you the launcher. It should be what is the launcher called? Moderate. That's it. Takes about 2 seconds to do, no? Ooh, it's another barrel of Pokeballs. Copper. Shit, mine now. Wait, there's no weight system in this, huh? I can carry as much as I want. Alright, we gotta get stronger. I need to train this Pichu. I need to train this Pichu, that's for damn sure. What is this? Cobbled Farms Poke Center, nice. W. Sorry for not being able to properly welcome you myself, but I hope you're enjoying the Pokemon Center anyways, hun. I know we were told to come back alone on this job, but between you and me, if you brought a friend, remember that you can right click on them to request a trade. What's the PC? Yeah, I definitely need a shader pack, that's for sure. My game looks so plain. Medical brew? EXP candy. Here's the ones experienced by 100. I guess I should probably use those, huh? Alright, Pichu, you're gonna eat a bunch of these thingies. Oh, there we go. 9. Oh, well, that's too high. I don't want to use this one. What is this? XP candy M. Okay, fine, fuck it. What was this one? Medical brew. Oh. Oh, 21, damn. Okay, that might have been too high. Prism launcher. Oh, mod packs from there. Yeah, you can do that, or you use Curse Forge. I usually use Curse Forge, but I'm using a different one this time. Because I remember I used Curse Forge for like literally everything. Let's see. Rare candies. I guess I'll give you the rare candies. Why is my sword trick not evolving? I guess I'll evolve next battle, I guess. Nice. Okay. Level 18 and 21. So where are the gyms at in this? I gotta find them. Can I zoom in on the map? I can't. What is this? Oh, it's a Pokédex. Oh, it's a leftovers. That's gonna be handy. What do I give that to? Maybe the Torchic. Oh, I can evolve it from here. Oh, I should have threw it out to see it first. Fuck. Let's see. Wait, how do I give the Pokemon the leftovers? Out item. Do I gotta throw it out first? Yeah, I have to throw it out first. Like, take this damn leftovers. How do you give the Pokemon the leftovers? Do I right click on them? It's not letting me like right click on them. I have no clue how to give it. It won't let me give it to him. That's definitely not it. Shift to right click? Oh, it's so weird. Okay, I mean, I guess. Ah, come back. Alright, we're now at Togepi is the lowest level, so we gotta train this Togepi. Let's explore. Let's get out of here. Let's go to a different area. Oh, what's this? Cobbled farms. Whoa. Pretty cool. You also put your Pikachu. What is this? Oh, it's a bear wolf. XP candy and stuff. Black sludge. What the fuck was that noise? Black sludge. If the holder is a poison type, it will restore HP. It's pretty handy. Okay, what were you saying? You can put your Pikachu one of your wells on your shoulder. Shift right click as well. Oh, can I? Oh, I can't see it from here, so it's pretty cool. I can't run with that shit on my shoulder though. Is that shit too fat? Pichu. I think that shit's too fat. Oh man, where'd it go? Oh, he's down there. Thundershock. F5? Is it F5? I'll take a look in a second. What? Missed? Bro, I'm like, wait, why didn't I hit? I forgot there's a thing in Pokemon you can miss. He's paralyzed, so nice. Missed? Yo, what is the accuracy of Thundershock? Nice. Okay, you said F5. What is F5? Cool. Whoa. Oh my god, my Pichu scared the shit out of me. No, fucking Pichu just scared the crap out of me. I need heals. Is that what medical brew is for? I don't know. Three. Ooh, the mountains. Let's go in there. What's up, Jose? What was this? Oh, it's a Wobble Fett. Whoa. I love where you guys. 13. 30. Damn. So I'll let the Togepi fight you. Those are Yolu. Let's do Ancient Power. Okay, that did not do a lot of damage. Oh, hell no. Yeah, hell not. No, that's a wine and a Wobble Fett, yeah. Wait, why doesn't it let me switch? Oh, fuck, I made me do that. Wait. How do I go back? I don't want to catch it. I can't end the interaction. Oh, there you go. Oh, whoops. Wait, I can't switch? Oh, no, that's crazy. Active Form being trapped. Destiny Bond. Oh, my fucking God. This asshole. It failed. Oh, God. Come on. Keep failing for that boy. Yep. 21%. Half 1 HP. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Nice. Oh, God. That was a little too risky, I must say. 1 HP. No, this is not Pixelmon. You said I'm still playing Pixel. No, this isn't Pixelmon. This is a different one. This is a Go-Go or whatever it's called. I forget what the freaking thing is called. Skiddo, yeah. I think Go-Go was pretty good if I remember correctly, but I don't remember. Nice. Raw mutton. Damn. We got burnt. What was this? 20? Yeah, you got this. Lock in. Cook that Gligar. Oh, nice. 85? Yeah, which is pretty low. He's Peck. I got my goat. I think Gligar was cool. Oh my God, this is doing like no damage. Oh, my leftovers got knocked off. Burn him. Fuck. Wait, you're faster than me? Oof. Okay. Okay. Think you die here? Nice. Was a little risky. What's this? Yachi berry? Okay, now I need to go heal. I need to go to a Pokemon Center. These mountains is no joke. Mountains got hands. Favorite Street Fighter 6 character? Kuma or Mai? Kuma or Mai? These new characters look cool as hell though, so that could change. I don't know. We'll see. It's in here. Oops. Oh, I have so much stuff on my thingy. Nothing's in there. What shaders do I download? I wonder. Are there any suggestions? I could probably just look some up. Nah, this is Cobblemon. Oh, where's the Pokemon Center? Wasn't this it? No, what the hell is this? It's like a farm. I think that's over there. Wait, this is a cave. Oh, we can go in there next. After I heal my damn Pokemon. This was the Pokédex, right? Or National Dex. Damn. Game is deep. I think the complimentary reimagined and balance shares are pretty good. Keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind. Normal standard. Got others besides that? Hold on. Not bad. Everyone's DMing me. The hoo hoot. A hoo hoot. A boot boot. I was going to that cave. I gotta figure out like what's this? Oh, is this Pokemon? The big ass hammer. I gotta figure out the controls and stuff. I gotta look up more Minecraft stuff. For Cobblemon. Yeah, I know the evolution is Tinkaton. I forgot the pre-evolution. Lush Cave. Normally evolution stones can only be found underground in specific biomes, but there's something special about this cave. I wonder if it has to do with how weird this area is. Lush Cave? Go forward or... Let's go over there. Let's see what's... Oh, this is the Lush Cave. Whoa, what the fuck? Okay, falling would really suck. It's a lot of lava. Why did you leave us, brother? Who's your favorite Pokemon? Favorite Pokemon is probably favorite Pokemon. Probably Salamence. Either Salamence, Torchic, or I don't know. Charmander? Mega Salamence? Yeah. Level 21? Let me give my Togepi these heals. I mean, these EXP thingies. What the? Oh, right, you gotta right click. Oh, wait, that's how you throw the... Yo, are you gonna come out? There we go. What are the other EXP candies I got? This one's a large one? Extra large. Whoa. Let's use these ones. These ones are pretty buns. Okay, maybe I do have to use the extra large one. 35. Okay, that's way too high. I didn't even give him that much. All right, let's give you the large one. 26. Nice. Okay, well now my Pichu needs levels. Team you trying to build? I don't know. I'm just getting whatever Pokemon I want. I'm building a specific team. Damn, you got one-shotted. You taking a P5 for your oh, for the arts for the streams and stuff. Or you gonna change to P4R? I could change it. I don't know. I don't really like yellow. Yellow's like not one of my favorite colors. I'd probably do blue for P3. That shit's usually just been red though. No swan, because that's my goat. Where's Zekrom? Are there legendaries in this? What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? Whoa. Okay, this is pretty dangerous. Okay, yeah, I can't cross this. Ow. I kind of want to touch that though. Can I make that? Oh no. Okay, never mind. I cannot. That's gonna get me fucking killed. Am I doing mods? I'm on Cobblemon right now. Holy shit, when does it end? Yes, you can. Yeah, fuck that. I'm not doing that. That's just gonna get me killed. Run back up. That was bad. You might find a ground on down here. Would I? Why don't you dash across the lava? Dash across the lava, okay. How the hell do I get back up? Oh, this is... Let's go over here. You don't know Blade's kid? This guy. Oh no, I went this way. There was nothing over here. Metaphor? Metaphor would be sick. I think I might do metaphor. Metaphor would be sick. What the fuck is this? Oh, it's a spawner. Is that a saw? Or the stone cutter? Barrel of remedies? Slightly reducing friendship, but you heal them? What in the what? How is that worth it? Nothing in this barrel. How would that be worth it? I'm not doing that. Hold on, I'm gonna switch to... I was caught by surprise to see you on stream. On TikTok? Yeah. I usually stream on TikTok when my account gets cooked by the moderation, because the moderation they use is AI. I think I'm on shadow banned, but like it's like weird to tell. I'm pretty sure I'm not shadow banned anymore. But I'm definitely banned from what's that crap called? The creator incentive program thingy. I gotta wait for them to fix it because people keep getting banned falsely, obviously, for stuff they didn't do. What the hell is this over here? Ooh, what is this cave? What the fuck? Oh, it's just where the water starts. I want to go up through there. Cave looks cool. That game would look way better if it had shaders. Still consort. Level 20. Yeah, Pichu, get his ass. I need better moves. These moves suck. This is gonna do like no damage. Yo, shock him. Yo, let's not do that. Moves for free. Where do you do that at? Oh, you got paralyzed. Nice. Where do you do that? M? Yeah, I'll check in a second. Well, after this. Hold on now. Should I get you on double server? Because I didn't feel like it. I was busy. I see how it is. Yappa doom. I was busy. Okay, you said switch with M. Nuzzle. Nasty plot. Do nuzzle. Double kick. Peck, ember. Let's do sky uppercut. I don't want to place quick attack. Aerial waste. Damn, we have aerial waste in here. Slash. Let's do slash, I guess. You a TTV on Minecraft? Bro, it's my old ass account, bro. Let's see. Pichu. Oh, we did Pichu, sorry. Togepi. Double edge. Double edge is crazy. Pound. Okay, where am I? How do I get out of here? Oh my god. Going up this thing is annoying. I'll go to like one more area and then let's wrap this up. Check over there. I didn't go over there yet. Birch Forest, what this place is called. There's a Cobblemon server, yeah. Cobbled Farms built by the CCC. Mint Farm. W Mint Farm. What the hell's up there? What was that? Oh, it's that Pokemon. Yeah, Pokemon I haven't seen in ages. God damn. If you're getting like half of these Pokemon exist. What's an Eevee? How low are you? 28? Get his ass. How's he ignoring me? Oh. Kick his shit. Well, actually, no. Sky Uppercut his shit. Damn. Slash. He chomped me? Oh no, he bit me. It was a crit. Nice. What's this? Greetings, welcome to the Mint Farms. Seems like growing attitude, blah blah blah. Oh, the mints each boost random stats. Well, not random, a specific stat. Oh, that makes sense. It's like for EV training. Oops. I see. Yes, this is like literally for EV training. They give you seeds too, so you can like plant them at your own base or whatever. It's good to know. That a snow area? It is. Fuck. God damn it. Uh-oh. Let me chill out. You need to level my combustion, so we're good to go there. You got a mod where you can have your mons attack mobs. Wait, what? Oh, you mean like actual like skeletons and stuff? Nah, I don't have a mod for that. That sounds like a funny one though. Like sheep and stuff? Whoa. Those are no joke. Mm-mm-mm. There's nothing here, damn. What one is that? Oh, it's this Pokemon. It looks so big. It's like, what the fuck is that? My god, these mountains are actually so annoying. Frozen Peaks. What this place is called. My. This shit high key ASMR. Oh, I guess it is ASMR for you because you can't hear the music. You can't hear the music on TikTok. There's music in my ear. You got on the purple app for music. You can kind of hear it. Oh my god. Yo, climbing mountains in Minecraft is low-key exhausting. I forgot how exhausting this is. It's just a workout. Save the chords mountains like that. You're really good. Oh, for the mountain? Yeah, I can just rerun the stream. Get it. Oh, what's over there? They're really good legendaries. No spawns for legendaries. Usually. I do remember that. Sometimes you might go to a mountain, you might see like a random ass legendary. Ow. Oh, it's this Pokemon. I used to be obsessed with this Pokemon when I was little. Kill it. Kill it. Snow run. What was this? Oh, that Pokemon. A chair? Look at a chair with a door on it? What the hell was this? Ow. What the hell is that? What does that? Sweet berries. Why is it damaging me? Look at thorns or something. The sweet berries are surrounded by thorns? Oh, have you played King of Fighters or Fate of Fury? Yeah, I've played Fate of Fury. I did some videos too. KOF, yeah, I've also played that. Some videos on the second channel as well of that. Oh, Thunderstone. Nice, I'm gonna need this for my Pichu. Ice Stone. Let's just roll my Pichu now, I guess. Wait, how do I use it on him? Do I just like... How the fuck am I supposed to use it on it? Oh wait, no, it's for Raichu. I'm stupid. I forgot, it's for Raichu. Wait, how do you evolve the regular Pichu then? I forgot. Oh yeah, you need friendship. Yeah, it's friendship. Damn it. Damn it. Whatever. Let's go to a place to stop at. On the house or something. Mankey? In the plains. Is this shit Aldermons? No, this is Cobblemon. What is Aldermons? What the hell is that? There's a cave down there. I guess I just go all the way back. It wasn't that far, was it? Don't remember how far it was. Are you gonna get that Mega Raichu? Oh, there are Megas in Cobblemon? Oh yeah, there are actually, because we saw it in that video. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. Wait, is that Mega in this though? Because that's one of the newer Megas, no? I don't know if this game will have that. Probably. Why not do Cobbleverse? That was Cobbleverse. Yeah, you can ride Pokemon. I mean, you usually always ride Pokemon Cobblemon though, no? Cobbleverse. What's a Mareep? Level 21. Let's see my Pichu can beat a level 21 Mareep. I have nothing to hit this thing with. God damn it. Adult. Yeah. That's what no damage. Yeah, I can't use that against this. T-Megas are separate mods. Enjoy the content isn't a different supporting mod. Okay, I have to look into that stuff. That's very tanky, goddamn. Oh yeah. Oh, never mind, he's dead. I thought I went, but he went. What did he use? Oh, too late. Now let's get back to the village thingy. I don't know with this game for now. I need to, before we play Minecraft again, I need to get shaders. I need to get shaders and I need to get what was it? What else? Oh, I need to look into the mod first. I don't know where to do gyms and stuff yet. This is my first time trying this mod. It looks like it'd be a lot of fun, that's for sure. I just need shaders. I need shaders, and also I need to learn where everything is and what to do. So I'm doing exploring right now. Special attack demon for shares. Everyone complimentary. Yeah, someone said that earlier. I'll look into it. Yo, Shanks, thanks for the follow. I think I like the Mega Raichu Y. Person asked. Someone asked that earlier. I think I like the Y one. Whichever was the chubby one that flies. That one's hilarious. I like that one better. Oh, I climbed through here. The chubby one that flies is funny. Yo, Stank, thanks for the follow as well. I guess you guys are coming from the TikTok. Appreciate it. What is this? Apricot orchard. Oh, this is where you get the orchard. This apricot farm thingy. Use to make Pokeballs and stuff. All right. How do I get drops on this? I don't know. I think the drops are. Well, I think it should be an hour. No. There's some of the other drop. That's enough Minecraft for now. WW sponsor. Big shout out to Minecraft for sponsoring the stream. We'll do some more Minecraft soon. But I need shaders. I need shaders, bro. You gotta make sure your thing is linked. Do exclamation point drops. Do exclamation point drops. Exclamation point drops. Your shit dropped. Don't get dropped on your head. Don't get dropped on your head. Play Persona. We've already played Persona. What do you mean? The only one I haven't played on stream yet is 5. I have playthroughs on YouTube of 4 and 3. If you want to go watch those, full on playlist, all done. Get one free month for realms. Drop. That's pretty good, no? I heard y'all say drop. I mean,